Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for another Monday mini-sode in the new year.
Yeah, Monday mini. First Monday mini for a little while, which is exciting to be back. And for those of you who don't know, Monday minis are our opportunity to cover one topic in kind of a short amount of time, about 8 to 10 minutes, as opposed to our typical like hour-long plus episodes on Wednesdays. So if you're interested in more content where we go a little bit deeper into a lot of different things, check us out on anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Google, wherever. We're on there, or on YouTube. Check us out here. Wednesdays, we have our longer form podcast, but Mondays, a little bit shorter. And today we're talking about staying focused on your business and why it's important to stay focused on your business and how to be successful doing that.
So what had us thinking about this is right now there's this big discrepancy, right? There's, because of everything going on, there are some people going like, oh man, things are taking off, and other people are like, oh, things are bad. And so we just want to lay out the idea of like why you should just focus on yours. And it's okay. It's okay to
mind your business is what we're saying.
No, it's okay
mind your own business.
It's okay to look up to others. It's okay to emulate, but in the end, understand that there's limits to it, right? So the first one is sales are different for everyone, right? And I had one of the worst days I've had in my eBay full-time history. Worst days. And there's a part of me that wants to hear everybody else is doing poorly too, because then I feel like, hey, it's not just me. But then, I go on our Discord and somebody's talking about, hey, I just sold a VHS for $700. Or, hey, I just sold this hat for $150. Oh, I sold this. Today was one of my best days ever. And the reality is with selling on eBay or Amazon or any platform, that sales are different for everyone, right? People have different items. There's, you can't predict what buyers are looking for. People have, different listing schedules. And so sales are just different. And so to automatically believe that everybody's in the same boat as you, or to get concerned that everybody isn't in the same boat as you, it's just not right. Because in the end, everybody's in a different place on eBay on a different day. You may have a day that you're having an excellent day, and there's somebody else going, wow, I wonder if eBay just turned off my store.
Yeah. And really what this comes down to is kind of focusing on what you can control. And a lot of times you can be distracted, or there's a lot of things that can interrupt your own business and your ability to succeed if you're thinking about what other people are doing as opposed to what you can do to fix the problems. And there's benefits to say, hey, what have other people done when they've had slow sales in order to get out of it? How can I incorporate that? But if you're having a really hard time with sales, the best thing to do is do whatever you can do to fix the sales, and not to go looking kind of for a pity party of other people who are in the same boat. Or if you're doing really, really well, it's probably not helpful to go around and brag and try and prove how great you are compared to everybody else. But to really just focus on what you can control, do the best you can, and help those who need help, and maybe ask for help from those who've been through similar things. But it's so easy to compare yourself with other people, as opposed to just focusing on what you can control and moving on from there. And that kind of goes on with this next situation, which is everybody's in a different situation. Everybody has a different goals, different living situation, different economic system, different housing market. Like everything is so different for everybody, which is one of the reasons you can't compare yourself. Orlando and I sitting here are a great example. Like we're do this differently. He's full-time. He's got to make the sales. I do it part-time. I can sustain myself with my full-time job, but we do this on the side in order to do extra things, in order to pay off debt, in order to save up to buy a home. And so I have a little bit more flexibility to work really hard or to take it easy. And then there's people, we've talked about, they're living a part of the country where their overhead is really, really low. They're able to get a big warehouse. They're able to get whatever that situation is, their rent for those things are very low, but maybe it's a little bit harder for them to do garage sales. Here, our overhead is way astronomical. However, we can do garage sales pretty much year round. So everybody's in a different situation. So it's really hard to compare yourself. If you look at your favorite YouTuber and they're just crushing it on garage sales all the time, and you feel like, hey, I just can't do that. Well, if you live somewhere where the garage sale window is only a couple months out of the year, but also it's a fraction of the price for you to be able to have your storage. I mean, things can kind of even out there. So you can't compare yourself because it's not apples to apples. Everybody's in a very different situation. Some people, this is their only income, and so they have to make it work. Other people have another job that they're using in order to have medical insurance or something else. And so they have a little bit more flexibility and freedom. So you can't compare your situation to anybody else's because it's not identical.
Well, just think of the family dynamics, right? You have some individuals that are married and they both are full-time resellers, right? That's different than the single mom who's trying to raise 3 kids on her own, right? Or somebody who has, maybe you have a child with special needs, or maybe you're trying to take care of your parents. So whatever it is, everybody has their own potential. You can't compare the 20-year-old kid that is living in the basement and has all their bills paid, and they have all the time in the world, to let's say the 20-something-year-old widow that's just trying to make it. So understand, everybody has a different situation. Now, this other one, I'm just gonna be real about. Resellers lie. They just do. I would say on social media, this happens all the time. And again, I'm not going to call anybody out, but I got to tell you that one of the downfalls of getting into the social media space for Mike and I is, as we got to know other resellers and as we got to get invited to different reselling events, we got to hear on the DL what actually is happening, right? That somebody they're just making YouTube videos just to get that YouTube income. They actually, they're not reselling very much. I know, like one situation, somebody had an inheritance, and so it didn't matter how poorly eBay went for them, they're going to be good. Okay. Yeah. Or you have other people that have, 90-day totals, but they're not telling you that 90-day total is at 70% of that 90-day total is actually in inventory. Right. And so, people are, social media is definitely the place where you're just trying to flex. You're trying to show how excellent your sales are, how things are going. But there are many, and this because there's a lot of resellers that were around in year 1 of PHP Podcast that aren't around anymore. And why? It's because for a while they're trying to show up front, they're trying to sell a course, and eventually reality came through and they're like, I can't do this anymore. So be aware that there's some people out there not telling the truth.
Yeah, and not even all in a way that's malicious either. Like sometimes you just are only seeing a portion of it, right?
Oh, that's true. Very true.
People are only going to put forward the best, and so you might only be seeing the highlights of their career. And it's just like the social media life. If somebody's got a lot of fails and they've got a unorganized half of their inventory, that's not the part they're putting on social media all the time. So you're only seeing.
Are you talking about me?
You're only seeing part of it, and so you can't always compare yourself there too. You got to figure that they're showing the best usually, and so don't get down on that. And part of that goes with this idea that only you your situation. A lot of times there's a phrase out there something to the effect of, it's better to keep the devil, or, the what I'm talking about? Something like that. Like the devil, is better than the devil on somebody else's back. Like you can look at somebody else's life and think like, man, if I only had their life, if I only had if things were going the way their life is going, things would be better for me. If I had their inventory set up, if I had their location that they lived in, if I had and then the moment, if you could switch shoes with them and then you realize that they have a whole other area of issues and you're like, you know what? I'm happy with my life. Mm-hmm. And so you can't compare yourself to others. You kind of got to focus on where you're at, because you've got to figure out what your needs are and how to meet those needs. And it's going to be different for everybody. You can sit and say, okay, I need an extra $400 a month in order to pay the car payment that I need to pay. I make enough for everything else, but I need to be able to put a little bit into some money for savings. And I needed a bigger car. And so I need an extra $400 a month. And so you've got to do what it takes to get there. And somebody else might need to make $4,000 a month because that's what they need to cover their bills. And somebody else might need to make $400 a month, but they enjoy making $1,000 a month, but it's hurting their family time and experience. And so you've got to kind of figure out what it is that you need and then work towards that. And it's so easy to kind of look at other people and what other people are doing and say, hey man, if I was doing this, I can make more, or this person has way more family time than I have, so maybe I should work less. but only you can figure out what your needs are. If you need to make ends meet, then maybe you are in a season where you need to work a little more and you're going to be losing some family time, or vice versa. You need to work a little less and get some family time back. But you can only you can figure that out for yourselves. You know your own situations, you know the own devil that you're fighting, and you can't like imagine that somebody else's life is better and their situation is better because you don't know what they're going through and all their things. So focus on yourself, focus on the business that you've got going, and figure out what it is you really need. Because if you're trying to live up to Instagram expectations of reselling, whether it's only working 4 hours a week or whether it's being, a multimillionaire because you're hustling 800 hours a week, like those two spectrums are both options that are presented in the hustle world. Mm-hmm. And you really got to figure out which of those areas is it that you need to lean more towards.
Yeah, agreed. And again, just to repeat a little bit of what Mike was saying was, I get asked all the time, like, what's a good dollar amount for me to go full time? And I can't give you a number, right? I mean, in California, the number is astronomical. If you want to live, a plush life.
Yeah, in our area, I think they said it's 140,000 is what a household needs to make a year in order to make it.
Even still, 140K is rough.
That's rough.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Because, I remember just 3-4 years ago, everybody's like, I'm a 6-figure seller. And like, now people are like, I'm a 7-figure seller. And the reason being is because, yes, in California, 140K, especially if you have a family, it's still not easy.
That's to like live middle of the road, like you're able to pay a mortgage.
Yeah, you pay all your bills on time.
You pay your bills, yeah.
You're not going for want, like you're able to pay all the bills. Now, again, everybody has their own circumstances. We live in San Diego, which obviously brings our cost up. Anyways, everybody has their own needs. And this last one, listen, the reason you need to stay focused on your business is it prevents you from being distracted. It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy now with social media and technology. The algorithm will feed you what you want to see. If you want to hear about how terrible eBay sales are, the algorithm on YouTube or TikTok or wherever will feed you. You will find miserable acquaintances if you want to find miserable acquaintances. But if you want to say, hey, I'm going to stay focused on my business, things are kind of rough right now, but I do know that in the past I've been in this situation. I know if I stay consistent, things will rebound, things will improve. You got to stay focused on your business because you want to keep that momentum going. Because again, only like we said multiple times, what you need, how much you need, your situation, and that sales do ebb and flow for you, but eventually you will rebound. So hopefully you found this helpful to stay focused on your business. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.